November 25th, 1988. A man sits in his car listening to weather reports and writing them down in his notebook. His young daughter, Denise, is bored, but he is determined to continue his observations, especially since they differ from the predicted weather. Just then, Leonard, an employee of the weather station, comes up to the car carrying weather observation journals from the past few years. But security arrives, Uno drives off, and Leonard is detained. 8 years pass. Denise has grown into a girl with a criminal streak. One evening, she breaks open a gate in the fence surrounding a restricted area and lets in a group of young people looking for thrills. Her friend reminds everyone that Denise's father was obsessed with stars and UFOs. He's long gone, having left his daughter behind, and she still believes in aliens. Suddenly, an alarm goes off, and the group runs. Denise jumps on her bike, but at the exit, she collides with a police car. A female officer, Tommy, detains her, and on the way lectures the girl. After all, she's already been through several foster families. Meanwhile, on a nearby farm, the owner goes to check the barn, and suddenly the light bulbs overhead start exploding. The man flips the main switch, which seems to stop the problem. But then there's a crash from above, and out of nowhere, a car drops down right next to the farmer. In the morning, Denise sees a newspaper article about the strange incident at the farm and recognizes her father's car. She goes to see Tommy, but Tommy reminds her that her father went missing in the mountains, where the police found his car. That night, Denise sneaks onto the farm to inspect the vehicle and is caught by the police. She makes a run for it, accidentally pressing the button on the tape recorder, which starts playing her father's favorite song. The girl speeds away. Back home, she flips through her father's notebook, recalling how he reviewed the folders he had obtained while Denise read out the data he needed. Using that information, Uno calculated the spot in the mountains where the aliens had landed. He drove off. That was the last time she ever saw him. The next morning, Denise goes to the UFO Association, where she finds a report about a plane that went missing over the Baltic Sea. Moving on to the next room, she sees several association members. Tona takes a call from someone who claims to have witnessed a UFO over Sweden, but it turns out to be just a full moon. On top of that, they have reports of power losses, odd headlights, satellites, dirty lenses, and flying plastic bags, but no real UFOs. Denise asks to meet the chairperson, who turns out to be her father's old friend, Leonard. Denise points out that a heavy rain was predicted on Friday, yet there was no rain. Then the power went out, and 5 minutes later, a red car fell through a farmer's roof. The farmer saw a red light in the sky, and the car was found with her father's favorite cassette inside it. So it's definitely his car, which is now at the police station. The association members don't believe in anything without proof, but if new facts arise, they're obliged to investigate them. Leonard announces that they're all heading to the old weather station. The members load into a van and set off. They soon arrive at the station and set up their counters. One of the members, Gunnar, is very unhappy about Denise's presence, considering her just as crazy as her father was. Leonard then stumbles upon a newly installed fence that encloses the weather station area, one that shouldn't be there. Taking a closer look at the equipment inside the fence, Denise is astonished. These are the latest generation of supercomputers. She suggests hacking the system and making use of the station's calculations. However, Leonard refuses to engage in anything illegal. The ufologists move farther from the station and set up their own equipment, but it won't function. Leonard notices someone with a flashlight moving around inside the station grounds and realizes Denise has disobeyed him and slipped into the restricted area. Just then, several cars pull up, and Leonard orders the group to leave. Meanwhile, Denise opens up one of the devices. Leonard recognizes his former colleagues among the arrivals. Denise hides behind the device as Leonard calls out to a woman named Kiki, who admits their institute has opened a UFO research division. At the same time, Denise removes a data disk from the device and tries to escape. Kiki and Leonard keep trading barbs, with Leonard accusing her of lying to their bosses. Otherwise, why come here at night? He suddenly realizes Denise is trapped, runs back to the van, starts the engine, and drives it straight into the station gate, smashing it open for Denise. She jumps into the van. Kiki orders someone to chase them, but at that moment, one of the installations sparks and flares, letting Leonard's vehicle break out of the enclosure with Denise on board. The van speeds off. Leonard asks Denise to read the data as quickly as possible, while Gunnar worries about the police. Denise connects to the disk and discovers a wealth of data on measurements of the Earth's gravitational field. Leonard explains that her father believed that if the meteorologist's forecast doesn't come true, the cause must be a disruption in Earth's gravitational field. Just then, Tona spots strange lights in a field and suggests they investigate. The van drives in that direction, but the lights vanish. Leonard zigzags around the field when suddenly something glowing streaks overhead, painting the sky red, and police sirens wail in the distance. They head back to town, even though Denise can't believe the ufologist would just leave the spot where the UFO landed. Leonard suggests Denise search the stolen disc for any clues. She gives him her father's notebook so he can try to solve Uno's equation. Meanwhile, the police try to figure out what happened at the weather station. Kiki blames a power surge, but Tommy doesn't believe her, convinced the UFO Association is involved and that it's high time they were shut down. Kiki demands the return of the stolen items, promising to give the police whatever testimony they need in exchange. Denise studies the stolen disc when Tommy shows up at her home and asks about the association, wanting to see what's in her backpack. Denise snaps back. Tommy realizes she's pushed too hard and leaves. Denise immediately rushes to the association and announces that Kiki started looking into gravitational anomalies on the very day her father disappeared. This proves Uno was on the right track. The ufologists decide to keep the hard drive and uncover the truth. They slip out the back door of the building just as the police come through the main entrance. The group drives to Leonard's place, which, as it turns out, is located at a junkyard. He returns Uno's notebook to Denise because he can't make sense of it and suggests they conduct some field research. Each ufologist draws their idea of a UFO and indicates a possible research direction. Meanwhile, to collect eyewitness accounts, they go door to door questioning locals about anything unusual. Denise plots their observations on a map, which helps pinpoint a location where a UFO might have landed. Gunnar watches all this from the sidelines. When Leonard invites him to join the search, Gunnar claims to have a bad leg. He strongly disapproves of what's happening. After Leonard leaves, Gunnar calls the police to ask about the car found on the farm. Meanwhile, the ufologists trek through the rain toward the spot they identified empirically, but nothing out of the ordinary is there. Disappointed, Denise hurls the UFO detection device into the bushes and storms off. At the Swedish Meteorological and Hydrological Institute, SMHI, a meeting is underway. Kiki faces awkward questions about the dismantling of the weather station, conducted without official funding. But then Tommy calls, saying the ufologists have vanished. As soon as they connect the disk to anything, it'll show up on the Institute's network. Christina gives the detective her laptop so she can track the disk. Leonard takes Denise back to his place, where the group has decided to celebrate, giving her a badge to mark her official entry into the association. Denise hugs Leonard while the others cheer. The fun is cut short by Gunnar, who shows off a car he has bought from the police. But Denise is certain the car she saw in the barn was different, and it was playing her dad's music. Gunnar, however, puts on the same cassette, which he says can be found at any flea market. So Denise has no real evidence. She drives off. Outside, she tears off her badge and throws it on the ground. Just then, she spots Tommy, who asks Denise to check Kiki's computer, find the association's IP address, and help apprehend its members. Denise agrees but copies the files from Tommy's laptop and sends them by fax to the association. She claims she found nothing useful. Tommy leaves, but then notices the discarded association badge and realizes Denise tricked her. Tommy returns, but Denise escapes through the window, rushes to the association, and studies the data she obtained. It becomes clear that a UFO crashed into a lake nearby. She calls Leonard and tells him what she's learned. At that moment, Gunnar comes in, tries to intimidate Denise, and demands she leave the association voluntarily. But a police siren blares outside, and Denise flees. She finds the rest of the association members at Leonard's trailer, and together they head for the lake, bringing along an old crane truck. They arrive at the site and begin salvage work. Soon they realize they really have found something. Denise turns on the winch, and something big and heavy starts to rise from the depths. Tona starts the truck, but it can barely hold on to the shore. The mysterious object smashes the pier, and out of the water emerges an airplane, which flips the truck bed and nearly kills the ufologists. Denise admits she learned about the object from the Institute's network, which she hacked. She mocks the old methods and calls the ufologists freaks, prompting the team to walk away. The police find Denise on the shore and detain her. Tommy announces she'll be sent to a special juvenile facility where she belongs. Denise notices the plane they pulled out, reads its tail number, and recalls the newspaper story about its disappearance. She demands that Tommy stop the car. When Tommy refuses, Denise tries to open the door. Tommy gets distracted, loses control, and the vehicle ends up in a ditch. After making sure Tommy is alive, Denise runs off. The association members return to their headquarters, where Gunnar is cleaning up after the police search. Suddenly, Denise bursts in, certain that the appearance of the plane happened just like her father's car. Uno figured it all out and accurately calculated where and when the UFO would reappear, and Kiki must be able to interpret his notes. Denise apologizes to the team, and Leonard supports her. When Gunnar objects, Leonard leaves his badge on the table and walks out with Denise. They drive to the Institute, sneak inside, and find Kiki's lab. The woman is about to call security, but Denise shows her Uno's notebook. At first, Kiki thinks the notes are nonsense, but then suddenly realizes it's a brilliant solution and suggests entering the equation into their system. Meanwhile, Gunnar tries to reorganize the association's leadership, but the ufologists unexpectedly push back and head off to help Denise and Leonard. Gunnar calls the police, telling them the association plans to blow up SMHI that night. In the lab, the computer displays an error message just as the police arrive outside. Denise asks for more details, and Leonard goes to the archives while the police order an evacuation. Leonard radios Kiki with the data he's found. The computer concludes that gravitational anomalies turn out to be an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Einstein's general theory of relativity allows for two black holes to be connected by a wormhole, and these gravitational values create the shortest path between two distant points in space. But the human world has four dimensions: width, length, height, and time. Forming a wormhole requires crossing both space and time, and that's exactly what happened. That's why Uno's car and the airplane ended up where they did, because of the wormhole. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. The police. Denise copies the data, a smoke grenade is thrown inside, and while Kiki is being detained, Denise escapes. Leonard also manages to get away. But outside, they're confronted by an irate Tommy who smashes the hard drive containing the data. They're taken out of the building, in front of which a car carrying the ufologists suddenly pulls up. It drives between the police vehicles and starts broadcasting a claim that a star frigate of the Galactic Federation has arrived on Earth with friendly intentions. Denise and Leonard have no idea what's happening, but the police, suspecting a bomb, open fire. Denise realizes it's her father's car. While the police are thrown off balance, she and Leonard climb in and the car speeds away. As they drive, Denise explains that the wormhole threw her father's car into the barn and the plane into the lake, but in the future. A police chase ensues. Denise drives to the top floor of a parking garage where she's halted by an armed Tommy who orders them out of the car. Encouraging Denise, Leonard points out that if the car ends up in the barn today, they won't crash now. So Denise summons her courage and hits the gas. Tommy watches red flashes light up the sky over the city, but the car is nowhere to be seen. Leonard and Denise find themselves in the barn, but the force of gravity yanks them outside onto a snowy field. Leonard is injured. Denise heads toward a light and soon sees her father, who calls her to come with him because the wormhole is closing. But she remembers Leonard, goes back to him, and helps him reach the barn. Suddenly, the wall explodes as a car smashes through it, flying right over them. Denise and Leonard collapse into the snow, watching the red lights overhead. Then, in an instant, they find themselves in a summer meadow. A knight rides up and announces that it's the year 1360 AD, but it soon becomes clear it's actually a group of reenactors, and they were really in 1998. Denise calls the association, and the ufologists rush to the hospital. Later, they celebrate the resurgence of the association, which is now getting more and more new members. Leonard learns that Denise has begun a new project, wanting to figure out who helped them return and how. A teenage drama against a sci-fi backdrop. It doesn't cause any negative reactions, but it's hard to recommend for fans of pure science fiction.